हाय, हाउ आर वी डूइंग? इतना इंतजार हो रहा है क्लास का. When will it start? When will it start? 1 minute में ऐसा हो गया. Hi, I am here. I hope you can see me and hear me clearly. Good evening. How are you doing? Finally. Hi, Sarifa. And those of you who are asking me, is this for class 6 also? Unfortunately, this session is only for class 8 because we're doing class 8 literature chapters, okay? And we had asked you कि सबसे ज़्यादा कौन से chapters आ रहे हैं आपके एग्ज़ाम में. तो majority responses के हिसाब से we have selected the chapters. Let me quickly tell you कि आज हम कौन से chapters करने वाले हैं. So from Honeydew we're doing The Best Christmas Present in the World, The Tsunami, Geography Lesson, Glimpses of the Past, Bepin Chaudhary's Lapse of Memory, The Last Bargain and The Summit Within. And from It So Happened, we are doing How the Camel Got Its Hump, Children at Work, The Selfish Giant, The Treasure Within and Princess September. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started. And here we are. We are starting with The Best Christmas Present in the World. Now, what is this chapter about? It is a story written by Michael Morpurgo. It narrates the story of a letter found in a desk and the people whom the letter belonged to. So, what I have done is, I have given you key points on the screen itself, okay? Now, if you have doubts, if a lot of you have doubts in the chapter, then we will go through all the key points in detail. If you don't have doubts in the chapter, if more or less you are confident about the chapter, then we'll move on to the questions, okay? So, let me know if you have any questions regarding the chapter. Otherwise, the key points will be available for you on the screen like they are over here. These are the key points from the chapter and you can come back later whenever you need to and quickly read the key points as a revision. Okay? So, this chapter is clear. What are the 2 Christmas presents in this chapter? Can you quickly tell me what are the 2 Christmas presents in this chapter? Sanjana, it's going to be a 1-hour long session. Okay. Still waiting for the response. There are 2 presents over here. The first present was, okay, yes, very good, Khatija. That is the second present. Very good, Manvi. Kashish, क्या आपको second key point समझाऊं? समझ नहीं आ रहा? अरे देखो, the characters के जो नाम है उनके spelling ठीक से लिख के आना. मैकपर्सन नहीं, मैकफर्सन है. So the 2 Christmas presents actually are, first one is the fact that in the middle of a war, 2 enemies called a truce and then decided that they will not fight with each other but come together and celebrate Christmas together. That is the first Christmas present. And the second Christmas present is when the narrator takes the letter to Connie. And Connie actually, because she's very old now and she's sort of muddled in her head, she actually thinks that the person who has come to deliver the letter is her husband. And she says that you coming back is the best Christmas present in the world. So there are actually 2 presents here. One that's talked about in the letter, that when the 2 sides of the warring soldiers call a truce and decide to celebrate Christmas together. And the second one is Connie, yes, she mistook the narrator as her husband. Okay? Kashish, you are saying the second key point is confusing. तो जब narrator को वो desk मिलता है, उसको साफ सफाई करने की कोशिश करता है, he realizes that it's probably been damaged because of fire and all the drawers are stuck. एक drawer को निकालने के लिए उसको मारता है जोर की और जैसे ही drawer निकलता है उसके अंदर एक secret drawer मिलता है जिसके अंदर एक letter होती है. वो सोचता है थोड़ी देर के लिए कि मुझे ये letter नहीं खोलनी चाहिए, किसी की personal letter हो सकती है, but because वो इतना curious होता है, he ends up opening the letter. In the letter, Jim McPherson has written about a particular incident that took place on 26 December 1914. What was happening in 1914? Very quickly tell me. What was happening in 1914? I need answers ऐसे fast. If these are not the chapters that are coming in your exam, it's okay. You can leave the session. जिनके exam में ये आ रहा है वो उन्हीं के लिए है ना session. That's okay. That's all right. Okay. Yes, World War I was going on, not just a war. World War I was going on. Correct? And during the World War I, German soldiers who are referred to as Fritz were fighting against the English soldiers who were referred to as Tommies. So Tommies इंग्लिश सोल्जर्स के लिए एक नाम है, टॉमीज बोलते हैं, मतलब टॉमी बोलते हैं हम उनको, और जर्मन सोल्जर्स के लिए नाम है फ्रिट्स. सो जब उनके बीच में लड़ाई चल रही थी, उस लड़ाई के बीच में अपने ट्रेंचेस से निकलकर जर्मन साइड ने एक इनिशिएटिव लिया कि आज क्रिसमस है और आज हम लड़ाई नहीं करेंगे, इंस्टेड लेट्स सेलिब्रेट क्रिसमस टुगेदर. सो फर्स्ट द इंग्लिश सोल्जर्स वर अ लिटिल एप्रीहेंसिव. दे थॉट कि दिस माइट बी अ ट्रिक, और हो सकता है कि अगर हम बाहर निकले अपने ट्रेंचेस से तो वो हमें मार दे. बट देन सून दे रियलाइज कि नहीं, उनकी ऐसी कोई इंटेंशन नहीं है. तो इंग्लिश सोल्जर्स भी बाहर निकल जाते हैं. दे शेयर ऑल द राशन दैट दे हैव. तो अपने स्नैप्स और सॉसेजेस जर्मन साइड लेके आते हैं, इंग्लिश साइड के पास रम और जो भी स्नैक्स होते हैं वो लेके आते हैं. साथ में वो लोग फुटबॉल खेलते हैं, क्रिसमस मनाते हैं. और फिर जिम मैकफर्सन हैज़ अ कॉन्वर्सेशन विद हुम? हैंस वुल्फ. ओके, एंड बोथ ऑफ देम talk about different things that are not related to the war. Hans Wolff talks about how he loves Thomas Hardy and the book Far From the Madding Crowd. They discuss that book, they discuss the characters in the book, they talk about their families. Okay, the Hans Wolff also talks about how he's a cellist back home. And after having a very meaningful conversation, मैकफर्सन feels that nobody wants to fight. मतलब कहने को हम लोग दुश्मन है, पर लड़ाई करने का मन किसी का भी नहीं है. Everybody wants to go back to their families. Everybody just wants the war to be over. और इससे मैकफर्सन एक बहुत ही ज़्यादा होपफुल हो जाता है कि वॉर बहुत जल्दी ख़त्म होने वाली है. That's what he writes in the letter. But ironically, that's not what happens, because Jim McPherson ends up dying. We can assume from the chapter, because this was his last letter written to his wife, we know that he ends up dying, and Connie never gets to see her husband again, which is a little sad part about this story. And then Connie, who's living alone, perhaps gets depressed, gets older all by herself, and one day her house catches fire. Because her house catches fire, she's taken out of the house by firemen, and then she lives in an old age home. And in that home, the narrator, on Christmas. So both of these things are happening on Christmas. Everything that happens in the letter is happening during Christmas, and the narrator finding Connie is also happening during Christmas. Narrator finds the old home in which Connie is living, goes there, gives her the letter. Connie thinks that her husband is back and says it's the best Christmas present ever. Okay? If you have to do a character sketch about anybody, then you just need to think about the kind of person they were. Jim, आपको facts तो पता है that he was a school teacher, he was from Dorset, all of these facts you know. So first you write about that, and then write about the kind of person he was. The fact that he was willing to enter a truce with the enemy side means that he was not very passionate about the war. He was a peace-loving person. He wanted peace. Even while talking to his enemy, Hans Wolff, he was very courteous towards him, and he was a very sensitive person. So these are the kind of things that you can conclude by reading the chapter. Okay, so character sketch को लेके डरो मत, and आपको बस समझना है कि अगर आप अपने आप को इमेजिन करो कि मैं इस बंदे से बात कर रही होती तो मुझे क्या लगता कि वो कैसा है. तो जैसा आपको रैंडम लोगों के साथ मिलके थोड़ा बहुत आइडिया लग जाता है ना कि ऐसा होगा, वो ऐसी होगी, स्कूल में भी आप लोगों से मिलते हो तो आपको ऐसा आइडिया हो जाता है, वैसे ही सोचो कि मैं जिम मैकफर्सन से मिल रही होती तो मुझे क्या लगता वो कैसा है. एंड दैट्स ऑल यू हैव टू राइट इन अ कैरेक्टर स्केच. ओके, summary of this is done. Here are your 2 questions. Quickly answer. So Connie is the wife of Jim McPherson. Now Connie, we can assume from the chapter, loved her husband a lot. She made his favorite marzipan cake, which her husband also shared with the Germans. he shared the cake with Hans Wolf, and Hans Wolf also says that this is the best marzipan that he's ever had. Okay, so we can deduce that Connie loved her husband a lot. From the letter, we can also assume that Connie desperately wanted her husband to come back, which is why Jim was telling her that I will be back to you very, very soon. Okay, and after his death, she was obviously devastated by his death, and which is why when she became older, she did not have any other family because she was all alone in her old home. So we can assume that they did not have any children, and because of loneliness in life, because she had to spend all her life alone without her husband, and the death of her husband probably had a very profound impact on her, that she became this confused, depressed old lady who sort of lost her mind a little bit. And that is why towards the end the fact that she hasn't forgotten her husband, the fact that she remembers that he had said that I will be back on Christmas, and जब Christmas में narrator वापस आते हैं उसको ये याद होता है कि जिम ने मुझे promise किया था कि वो Christmas तक वापस आ जाएगा in his letter. ये memory नहीं जाती है Connie से. This means that whatever her current situation is, it happened because of the loss that she faced in her life. Okay? All right? Yes. So question 1, you all have answered that she thought it was her husband, Jim McPherson. अगर ये कम मार्क्स के लिए आता है तो आप छोटा आंसर लिखोगे, ज़्यादा मार्क्स के लिए आता है तो कॉन्टेक्स्ट जो हमने डिस्कस किया है अभी कि उसके आगे पीछे क्या हुआ था वो लिख दोगे आंसर में, ठीक है? What about question number 2? What do you think Captain McPherson felt about the war? And we just discussed this. What do you think he felt? Cute girl, make sure you're spelling everything correctly. Spelling के वजह से marks मत खो देना. So Captain McPherson felt that he would come back from the war soon because after speaking to the German side, he realized that nobody really wanted to fight this war. It's not like they had enmity amongst themselves. It's just that they were doing a duty, service to their country. And that because nobody wanted to fight, the war will probably end very soon and he would come back home. He would be with his wife next Christmas. Correct? Okay. नहीं, ये menti नहीं है. So here are your two answers. You can make them longer. You can also make them shorter. ये short version है. इसका longer version मैंने आपको बताया. Second वाले का short version ये है. Longer version अभी हमने discuss किया था. Okay. He says something. He hopes in the chapter it's written, he hopes that the war will become a distant and terrible memory. So you can mention that also. That Jim mentions that war will become a distant and terrible memory by the same time next year. Okay? And in the first answer, if you want to make it longer, you can also give context. You say that Connie seems to have lost her memory. All she seems to remember is the letter and the hope that it gave her that her husband would return from the war soon. So that is why when the writer comes to her, she believes that her husband has come back and thinks that it's the best Christmas present ever. Okay? All right. Distant means दूर की बात होगी, बहुत पुरानी बात होगी. Okay? All right. Grammar class का live हो चुका है कृष्णा, आप देख सकते हो जाके. Hi Nandana, that's great, the fact that you got 100%. It's also because of your own efforts, the fact that you put in the hard work. We just discussed Connie. और character sketch में आपको रट्टा तो मारना है नहीं, आपको समझना है कि वो character कैसा है. तो Connie के character sketch में आपको ये समझना है कि Connie अपने husband की death के बाद उसको कितना बड़ा, जैसे हम नहीं बोलते सदमा लग जाता है, उसको सदमा लग गया. And because of that, she started losing her memory and all she could remember was her husband and that he's supposed to come back from the war. Okay? Yes, Shubhangi, मतलब Om ना, Om I remember you. ठीक है, ये menti नहीं है. Now we're moving on to the tsunami. Tsunami में किसी को doubts है? This is about the tsunami of 2004 and it narrates the different events and perspectives. Correct? Here are the key points. So इसको मैंने divide कर दिया है कैसे? I've divided it into the different places. So you can remember all the details that you have to remember through the places. अंडमान एंड निकोबार में क्या हुआ, थाईलैंड में क्या हुआ, श्रीलंका एंड तमिलनाडु में क्या हुआ. ठीक है. Khadija, we can't say that she was diagnosed with amnesia because it doesn't say that, but we can assume that she was suffering from some kind of memory loss. Okay. हाँ शक्ति, we are doing these also. आएंगे अभी, आगे आएगा. Glimpses of the past, बिपिन चौधरी, लास्ट बार्गेन, सब आएगा. ठीक है. So these are the key points. आपको पता है अंडमान एंड निकोबार में the names of the people who are mentioned, what all happened to them. If I ask you a question, I'll ask you Meghna and Almas Javed, what is the similarity in their stories? Meghna और Almas Javed की story में. Yes, Princess September is also there. 2004 era. Yes, we're already done doing direct and indirect speech. ये मेंटी नहीं है, मेंटी होगा बाद में. We are not doing an alien hand today. Yes, both lost their, both were, you can say both were traumatized by their experience. If you get a question that what is one similarity between Meghna and Almas Javed, you can say that both of them were traumatized by their experience. Okay? And Tilly Smith का सबको पता है how she was able to understand that a tsunami is probably coming because of a video that she had seen in her school. What country is Tilly originally from? Quickly tell me. What? No. What country is she from? England. Very good. Keep dancing is the one who gave me the right answer. Thailand में ये incident हुआ, पर Tilly आई कहाँ से थी Thailand में? England से आई थी. Okay? ठीक है. सेकेंड स्टोरी में कुछ नहीं होता, सिंपल है. टिली स्मिथ अपनी फैमिली के साथ होती है फुकेट में एक बीच पे. ओके और वहाँ पे वो लोग क्रिसमस मनाने के लिए आए होते हैं इंग्लैंड से. सडनली टिली ऑब्जर्व्स की कुछ अजीब हो रहा है समंदर में, फोम डेवलप हो रही है. एंड ऑल ऑफ दिस शी कुड रिलेट बैक टू अ वीडियो दैट शी हैड सीन इन हर क्लास अबाउट सुनामीज. सडनली उसको फीलिंग आ जाती है दैट मे बी अ सुनामी इज कमिंग एंड शी बिकम्स, दे हैव यूज्ड अ वर्ड hysterical. Hysterical का मतलब क्या होता है? That she loses her control on her emotions and her family at first doesn't realize what's going on, but because Tilly becomes hysterical, her family decides to listen to her. So along with her family, several other families also leave the beach and go to the swimming pool in their hotel. That's when they realize that the sea also follows them. On most of the families that were on the beach actually got washed away because of the tsunami, and they survived because Tilly asked them to leave the beach in time. ठीक है? And next, the last part of the story, Sri Lanka and Tamil Nadu, is talking about how animals might have a sixth sense and they are able to sense that an earthquake is going to come or a tsunami is going to come. And because of this, a lot of animals were actually unharmed. And there's this one incident in the Yala National Park where on this particular beach, 60 humans were washed away, but only 2 water buffaloes were found dead. Okay? And there's another incident mentioned about this man who used to take his 2 dogs on a walk on the beach, and on that specific day, the dogs refused to go on a walk, which is probably what saved his life as well. Okay? Now, they also say that kuch log mante sixth sense hai. Some people think that because of their advanced hearing, the fact that they can hear up to a lot higher decibels than human beings, तो वो decibel पे सुनने की वजह से या a lot lower, तो उनका range बहुत ज़्यादा होता है. So they're able to sense the vibrations that happen in the earth before an earthquake or a tsunami comes. Okay? What are your doubts? Quickly, and then we'll move on to the questions for this. It says in the chapter Nazombe that she's from England. Alright, Anything pertaining to the chapter we are discussing? If you have a doubt, Ira, please ask the doubt. Meghna story में ये होता है that she gets swept away by the waves and she's floating in the sea and a lot of relief helicopters go by. Relief helicopters क्या होते हैं? वो जब कोई भी disaster होता है तो हमारे पास एक disaster force भी है या कभी कभार आर्मी भी डिप्लॉय होती है जो लोगों को वहाँ पे बचाने आते हैं. तो वो जो रिलीफ हेलीकॉप्टर्स थे जो लोगों को बचाने के लिए आए थे उन्होंने देखा नहीं मेघना को समंदर में, बट लकीली मेघना वॉज लेटर वॉश्ड. देखते हो ना कभी बीच पे अगर आप कुछ फेंकते हो तो बहुत बारी वो वापस आ जाता है. तो ऐसे ही मेघना वेव्स के साथ शोर पर वापस आ गई और वहाँ से उसको रेस्क्यू किया गया. ठीक है. इट्स अ नेशनल पार्क इन श्रीलंका. ईरा. Traumatized means when something very, very bad happens to you and you're not able to get over it. That is a state of trauma. ठीक है? Akshit, we don't know. There's no final answer to that. It's a speculation. Okay? Alright, next. Alma's story is also written over here. She was the only surviving member of her family. Unfortunately, her grandfather and father were swept away by the waves, and she was actually from Port Blair, but she was visiting her family, and that is where the tsunami hit, and unfortunately everybody in her family was swept away apart from her. Okay? ठीक है, all explanations done. Here are the questions. Do animals have a sixth sense about earthquakes? Purvi, that's just how the English language is. You can't do anything about it. You need to give a longer answer. Do animals have a sixth sense about earthquakes? हाँ, support your answer. Support कैसे करोगे? Which part of the chapter talks about this? The last part. तभी ऐसे divide किया ना इसको. This part of the chapter talks about it. So you need to mention that in your answer. ठीक है? And you can mention the Yala National Park incident in your answer. ठीक है? Now Zombie, again, you have to explain why. And what about the second one? What do you think Tilly felt when the tsunami hit? Manvi, so अगर आप आंसर ये देते हो कि yes they have a sixth sense, you can support it. अगर आप बोलते हो no, then you can say कि the reason they are able to sense earthquakes is because of their hearing power. ठीक है? तो आप no भी बोल सकते हो इस आंसर में. You just have to support it, justify it. Okay? अगर आपको आंसर एक्सपैंड करना है तो आप स्टोरी के बारे में लिख दो. स्टोरी में क्या होता है क्या नहीं होता. अगर आपको इस क्वेश्चन का आंसर एक वर्ड में देना है तो आप बोल दोगे यस या नो. अगर आपको इसको एक्सपैंड करना है तो आप स्टोरी बताओगे. दैट व्हेन द सुनामी हिट इन 2004 very few animal carcasses were found, which means that a lot of animals were actually unharmed while the human casualties were a lot. This shows us that animals are able to sense earthquakes before they actually hit. तो ये सारी information दे दोगे तो आंसर लंबा हो जाएगा. ठीक है? All right. Next question. What do you think Tilly felt when the tsunami hit? Very good, Khatija. That's exactly how you're supposed to justify your answer. Great job. Okay, but no, when the tsunami hit. Okay, so इसमें आपको क्या करना है कि आप imagine, okay, अगर वो clearly नहीं लिखा हुआ आपके चैप्टर में कि उसको कैसा लगा होगा, then you can imagine कि उस situation में उसको कैसा लगा होगा. Correct? So whatever you are saying in your answer, you need to justify it by saying because. टिली वाज व्हेन द सुनामी हिट, टिली ने अपने पेरेंट्स को बीच से जाने को बोला था बिफोर द सुनामी हिट. हाउ डिड शी फील व्हेन द सुनामी फाइनली हिट? Okay, very good. Manvi has given a okay, but she okay a little bit relief, पर वो बाद में आता है. Obviously because जब tsunami hit किया, they could see the waves. They still had to enter the building of their hotel, go to a higher floor to protect themselves from the tsunami, and they were very fortunate that the tsunami did not destroy the building. But उस time पे डर तो लगा ही होगा ना. So we can say that definitely Tilly felt fear, Tilly felt panic, Tilly was frightened, yes. Annoying नहीं बोल सकते, annoyed यहाँ पे गलत word होगा, और relatable भी नहीं बोल सकते. उसने इसको recognize किया था because of the video that she saw. Relatable would be the wrong word to use. Fear बोल सकते हो, panic बोल सकते हो. कंफ्यूजन भी मैं नहीं बोलूंगी कि हुआ होगा बिकॉज टिली को पता था कि सुनामी क्या है, तो कंफ्यूजन नहीं हुआ होगा. कंफ्यूजन ऐसे इंसान को होगा जिसको पता ही नहीं कि सुनामी होता क्या है. स्कैर्ड, ठीक है. सो दीज आर द आंसर्स यू कैन गिव. इसी आंसर को लंबा बना के, पहले वाले आंसर आप बोल रहे थे लंबा कैसे करेंगे, तो मैं आपको बताती हूँ. You can say, from the report of the incidents, it appears that the animals in the nearby national park seemed to know that something was coming. The elephants ran away to higher ground. The dogs that usually took a walk on the beach did not want to go. And there were only 2 animal casualties, which were 2 water buffaloes that were found in the sea, whose carcasses were found in the sea. So, we can say that the human casualties were disproportionately higher than the animal casualties, which indicates that animals have some sort of sense that lets them know about an incoming earthquake in advance. ठीक है, ऐसे आप लंबा आंसर लिख सकते हो. छोटा आंसर एक लाइन में लिख दिया, लंबा आंसर मैंने अभी पढ़ के सुनाया. सेकंड में हमने अभी डिस्कस किया था कि टिली को फियर लगा होगा, पैनिक लगा होगा. शी मस्ट हैव बीन फ्राइटेंड. ओके, ऑल राइट. Next we have geography lesson. ठीक है. So now this is a poem. It talks about a person's perspective of a city from 10,000 feet above the earth. Okay. So if you've ever been on a plane, आप प्लेन के बाहर देखते हो तो आपको नज़र में आता है कि पहले शुरू में आपको अलग अलग अपना बेसिक सराउंडिंग्स दिख रहा है. जैसे जैसे आप हायर जा रहे हो आपको कार्स दिखती है, रोड्स दिखती है, अलग अलग घर दिखते हैं. आप और हाई जाओगे तो आपको थोड़े छोटे छोटे घर दिखते हैं, छोटे छोटे पेड़ दिखते हैं. और हाई जाओगे तो आपको ये सब कुछ दिखना बंद हो जाता है, सिर्फ लाइट नज़र आती है. अगर रात में फ्लाई कर रहे हो तो, दिन में फ्लाई कर रहे हो तो वो भी नहीं नज़र आएगा. करेक्ट, यू हैड दिस एक्सपीरियंस. ओके, सो this is a similar experience that the poet had, but the poet finds a deeper meaning in this experience. So that's the deeper meaning that we're going to discuss today. Okay, so the poem is written by Zulfikar Ghosh and okay, Smriti, yes, I have taken a flight or I've been in a flight, not I have ride in a flight. Okay, ठीक है. So Zulfikar Ghosh has written this poem and it begins with him about talking about a jet going into the sky, and then शुरू में वो बोलते हैं कि सिटी कैसी हैपहैज़र्ड सी, अनप्लान्ड सी लग रही है. हैपहैज़र्ड का मतलब है कि एकदम केओस है, कुछ भी सोच समझ के नहीं किया गया है. ओके, और इसमें कोई स्टाइल नहीं है. पर जैसे जैसे वो और ऊंचा जाता है, 10,000 फीट के ऑल्टीट्यूड पे जाता है, तब समझ में आता है कि नहीं, सिटी तो एक्चुअली काफ़ी प्लान्ड है. एंड दैट्स व्हेन ही रियलाइजेस कि अ लॉट ऑफ सिटीज आर बिल्ट अराउंड rivers, and the reason for this is that people need water. आप कोई भी पुरानी सिविलाइजेशन देखोगे, अगर आपने पढ़ा है इसके बारे में स्कूल में, इंडस वैली सिविलाइजेशन, जो भी आपके ओल्ड हरप्पा मोहनजोदारो है या आपके इजिप्शियन सिविलाइजेशंस है, जितनी भी पुरानी सिविलाइजेशंस है, दे वर ऑलवेज सिचुएटेड next to an important water body because water is essential for humans to survive. आप imagine करो कि एक दिन आपको पानी ना मिले तो आप कैसे जी पाओगे? नहीं जी पाओगे, right? So this is something the poet observed 10,000 feet के altitude से, that cities ran along rivers, और valleys इसीलिए populate हुई थी क्योंकि valleys से आपको water access करना easier है. आप mountain पे रह रहे हो तो difficult हो जाता है, right? Then 6 माइल्स के ऑल्टीट्यूड पे पहुंच जाती है. अब 6 माइल्स को फीट में कन्वर्ट करोगे तो काफ़ी ज़्यादा हो जाएगा, 30,000 फीट से भी ऊपर हो जाएगा. ही अंडरस्टैंड्स दैट द अर्थ इज राउंड एंड देयर इज मोर सी देन लैंड होना चाहिए, उल्टा. है ना, supposed to be more sea than land. Okay. And जैसे जैसे वो ऊपर जाता है वैसे वैसे ये सारी चीज़ें दिखाई देना बंद करती है, सिर्फ एक अर्थ दिखाई देती है. इसका डीप मीनिंग क्या हुआ? इसका डीप मीनिंग ये हुआ कि जैसे जैसे हम लोग हायर जा रहे हैं, हम लोगों ने जो डिफरेंसेस क्रिएट किए हैं. अब मैं बोलती हूँ कि मैं दिल्ली से हूँ, आप बोलोगे मैं कानपुर से हूँ, वो कोई और बोलेगा मैं तो तिरुवनंतपुरम से हूँ. हम लोग इन चीज़ों के बारे में आर्ग्यू कर सकते हैं कि हम लोगों ने सिटीज़ की बाउंड्री बना ली है, बट जब बात हम और थोड़े अलग पर्सपेक्टिव से देखें तो हम ये बोलते हैं कि चलो हम सब इंडियंस हैं, ठीक है. फिर हम ये लड़ाई करते हैं, मैं इंडियन हूँ, आप चाइनीज़ हो, आप श्रीलंकन हो. फिर थोड़ी देर बाद हम सोचेंगे तो बोलेंगे चलो कोई बात नहीं, हम सब एशियंस हैं, हम सब एशिया से हैं. उसके बाद आप आर्ग्यू करोगे कि चलो ये एशियन कॉन्टिनेंट है, वो अमेरिका हो गया या ऑस्ट्रेलिया होगा. लेकिन थोड़े टाइम बाद और सोचोगे थोड़ा और बाहर निकल के कि हम सब अर्थ पे रहते हैं. जब शायद फ्यूचर में एलियंस डिस्कवर हो जाएंगे तो हम बोलेंगे कि हम सब अर्थ के हैं, वो एलियंस है, ठीक है. और फिर उसके बाद भी आप सोचना चाहो तो सोच सकते हो चलो ठीक है हम लोग सेम मिल्की वे गैलेक्सी से है या सेम सोलर सिस्टम से मिल्की वे गैलेक्सी, तो क्या ही सोचो, है ना. तो आप जितना 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 ऊपर उठोगे आपको रियलाइज करेगा कि सब में कोई ना कोई सिमिलैरिटी तो है ही ना. तो इसमें क्या हो रहा है पोएम में कि पोएट जैसे जैसे लिटरली ऊपर जा रहा है वो फिगरेटिवली भी ऊपर जा रहा है. और वो ये कह रहा है कि हम लोगों ने इतने डिफरेंसेस क्रिएट करते हैं और इन डिफरेंसेस के पीछे हम लोग कितना फाइट कर रहे हैं. वी आर फाइटिंग ओवर ऑल ऑफ दीज डिफरेंसेस दैट वी ओनली हैव क्रिएटेड एंड 30,000 feet above in the sky these differences are not even visible. All I can see is one earth. Then why do we fight? Okay, that's the point that the poet is trying to make. Understood? ठीक है. Here's your question. Explain. It was clear why the country had cities where the rivers can. Explain this part of the poem very quickly. Universe next, and then they'll discover that और भी universes हैं. फिर क्या करोगे? There's no end. There's so much we haven't discovered about outer space. God knows what's happening up there. Confused हो इस क्वेश्चन में? अभी एक्सप्लेन किया था कि पानी के बिना अगर आपको रहना पड़े एक दिन तो कैसे रहोगे, वो ही सोचो. Yes, so it is clear why the country had cities where the rivers ran, because the cities developed near rivers because they needed access to water. Then you can explain that water is essential. It is a basic, it's one of our most basic necessities. Human beings cannot survive without water. Okay? Very good. And then Madhumita, I just explained the central idea of the poem. It's that when we rise, as the poet literally rises above these differences, he also figuratively rises above these differences and says that the divisions that we have created and the animosity and hatred that we have developed because of these divisions don't mean anything once you rise above them. That is the central idea of this poem. Okay? Alright, very good. First question clear. Second question is, again explain, from that height it was not clear why. Okay, there needs to be more to the sentence. कहाँ गया? It was not clear why. बोलो, from that height it was, अच्छा poem भी नहीं है ना खुली हुई. Basically why there was so much hatred and why humans killed each other. इसका reason already मैं समझा चुकी हूँ, तो दोनों answers दिखा देती हूँ. The cities are located along rivers so that there is easy access to water. इसी को और लंबा बनाना है, तो इसी को और लंबा बनाने के लिए आप कह सकते हो, if you look at human civilization, water is the elixir of life, or water is a basic necessity, is essential, and access to water has always been paramount, मतलब most important. ठीक है? Therefore, it is understandable that people had houses along rivers, and thus cities were also built along rivers. Okay? And for the second question, we can say Poem, आपको Sanjana, if it's coming in your exam, you should know the name of the poem. No, at least it's called geography lesson. Yes. From that distance, it was not clear why human society was filled with hatred and jealousy, and why humans killed each other. Okay, because minor differences in faces and regions and even nations disappear as the world starts appearing as one. Okay, so on the ground there are many things that are separating us, but when you are in the sky, these differences are not visible and they stop meaning anything. Okay, next we have glimpses of the past. This is about the events that lead up to the revolt of 1857. ठीक है? So this is a very interesting chapter because it's like a comic book. And yes, glimpses means choti choti jhalak. So it's not telling you everything in detail, but it's just telling you the main incidents that happened. Okay, so here are your key points. Now this is a longer, I mean, it's all given in a comic book format, but there's a lot of information, so each point has all the information. ठीक है? If you have specific questions, I'll explain. If not, then we can move ahead. This is not a poem, Akshit. History is the very basis of our present. If we don't know the history, we won't understand only what's happening in the present. The fact that we are a free, independent country today, there's a lot of history behind that, which we all should be aware of. A lot of people made tremendous sacrifices for us to get where we are today. And if we are not respectful of that, least we can do is be aware of it. Okay? ठीक है? So you can come back and read these points if you have any problem. वैसे कोई points नहीं है. Who are the important figures that we have discussed? तो मैं आपके लिए underline कर देती हूँ. ठीक है? First, Tipu Sultan is mentioned. Tipu Sultan, Tiger of Mysore. Okay, then we have mentioned Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Then an important thing for you to remember is Regulation 3, under which Indians could be jailed without a trial in court. बिना ये आपको मौका दिए अपने आप को डिफेंड करने के लिए कोर्ट में, आपको जेल भेज सकते थे. दैट वाज रेगुलेशन 3. ठीक है? सिर्फ इंडियंस को. एक और चीज जो इम्पोर्टेंट थी जो आपको याद रखनी है, हाई टैक्सेस वर लेविड. ठीक है? एंड जो ब्रिटिश गुड्स आ रहे थे उन पे कोई टैक्स नहीं लग रहा था. इसकी वजह से क्या कौन सफर कर रहे थे? लोकल एक्सपर्ट आर्टिजन्स वर सफरिंग. ठीक है? देन Governor General Bentinck said something that is very harrowing actually, that the bones of Indian farmers were bleaching the plains of India. मतलब so many farmers were dying because इतने ज़्यादा taxes उन पे लग रहे थे, वो pay नहीं कर पा रहे थे, that they ended up dying and that their bones were bleaching the plains of India. मतलब जो white उनके bones had looked like the plains of India were bleached. ठीक है? Bleach मतलब किसी को आप bleach करते हो तो वो उसका एकदम कलर निकल जाता है, वो एकदम white हो जाता है. ठीक है? Then this is your period. जैसे जैसे ये सारी चीज़ें होती है, डिस्क्रिमिनेशन होता है, हाई टैक्सेस लग रहे हैं, आपको राइट्स नहीं मिल रही है, इसकी वजह से डिससैटिस्फैक्शन बढ़ता है लोगों में. एंड ऑन टॉप ऑफ दैट, हु प्रपोज्ड दैट इंग्लिश मस्ट बी टॉट टू इंडियंस? पहले इंडियंस हिंदी पर्शियन में मोस्टली पढ़ाई करते थे, अपनी एजुकेशन करते थे. मकौले ने बोला कि इंग्लिश में करनी चाहिए. उसके बाद फाइनली 1857 में there was a violent outbreak in Meerut and many rulers who lost a lot of their land and rights came together. Names are Begum Hazrat Mahal, Maulvi Ahmadullah, Azimullah Khan, Tatya Tope, Peshwa Nana Sahib and Kuwar Singh. They all got together under the banner of Bahadur Shah Zafar. ठीक है? And under the banner of Bahadur Shah Zafar, all of these Indian rulers came together, fought against the British. Another important figure was Mangal Pandey. Mangal Pandey's the issue happened because of, who will tell me very quickly क्या issue हुआ था, which made both the Muslims and Hindus angry? Who Who can tell me very quickly? Yes. पर spelling, पूर्वा spelling सही कर लो. कार्ट्रिजेस की स्पेलिंग कोई सही नहीं लिख रहा. हाँ, हिंदी में ही लिख दिया अक्षित ने, कारतूस. पर हाँ, ठीक है, स्पेलिंग सही लिखना कार्ट्रिजेस के. काउ एंड cow, which is considered sacred in Hinduism, and pork, pig meat, which is considered haram in Islam. Both of the fat from both of these animals was used to grease these cartridges, which offended the sensibilities of both Hindus and Muslims. Okay, that is the incident that happened, that is related to Mangal Pandey. Okay, so these are the key people and key things you need to remember from this chapter. Regulation 3. Okay, what Governor General Bentinck said, and what were the kind of superstitions that were popular, believed amongst Indians, that Raja Ram Mohan Roy fought against or raised awareness against? What were the kind of things that Indians at that time believed? They believed that crossing the sea makes you lose your religion. They believed that, okay, what all is mentioned in the chapter. Yes, sati system was something that was abolished thanks to Raja Ram Mohan Roy. What else is mentioned in the chapter? Losing your religion if you cross the sea, untouchability, child marriage, women being the source of all evil, things like this people believed, and that led to a divided society that could not stand against the British Empire. Okay? Alright, now here are your questions from this chapter. What did Ram Mohan Roy feel about India and Indians in the context of British rule? What did he feel? Oh no, nobody today. We are doing literature for 8th, not 7th. Quickly, we have a lot to cover. India needed certain reforms, and that Indians need to pursue scientific knowledge. That's what he believed, correct? And question 2, what were the reasons Indians revolted against the British? Some reasons that Indians revolted against the British. So we just mentioned a lot of issues, right? So you need to talk about those issues, okay? So you can, ये अगर छोटा आंसर है तो आप इतना ही unfair treatment लिख सकते हो, max profit अपने आप के लिए लगता है, but you can also mention high taxes, no taxes on imported goods from England, okay? You can mention regulation 3 also over here, ठीक है? तो कम मार्क्स के लिए आता है तो 1-2 पॉइंट्स लिख दो, ज्यादा मार्क्स के लिए आता है तो 5-6 पॉइंट्स लिख सकते हो, ओके? And first guy, he felt that India needed reforms and that there should be a pursuit of scientific knowledge, ठीक है? Alright, you can go back to the key points if you want to have a quick recap of everything, ठीक है? Next. And there was one thing that Raja Ram Mohan Roy said to his wife. He said that, you know, different cows look different, but the milk that all of them give is essentially the same. So even though our religions are so different, the essence of all of those religions is the same. Okay, you can mention that also in any question related to the ideology of Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Okay, Bipin Chaudhary's Lapse of Memory, very interesting chapter. Okay, it's written by Satyajit Ray, very celebrated filmmaker, and it's a story about a man named Bipin Chaudhary. Here are the key points. What happens? Bipin Chaudhary is made to believe that he went to Ranchi in 58, even though he thought that he had no memory of ever going to Ranchi. But every other person that he spoke to or every other detail that was given by the mysterious man that he met in the bookstore seemed to indicate that he in fact did go to Ranchi, but he's just forgotten about it. So Bepin gets very, very scared. He thinks he's losing his mind. Because of this, he consults a doctor. The doctor says that I haven't seen any case like this in the past, but I would advise that you go to Ranchi. Maybe going there will trigger your memory and you'll suddenly remember that you've been here before. So Bepin is like, okay, I will do that. He goes to Ranchi, and in Ranchi he is not able to recognize anything and he doesn't feel like he's ever been here before, and he gets so overwhelmed by all of this that he becomes unconscious and the hood falls. And once he gets back home, he realizes that all of this was done by Chunilal, who was an old friend of Bepin, and because Bepin refused to help Chunilal in his time of need, Chunilal decided to exact revenge on Bepin Babu by playing this very meticulously planned prank on him. Okay, this is the crux of the story. Very interesting story. Here's your first question. Did Bepin actually go to Ranchi? Isme it's yes and no. So you have to explain both of these sides. He did not go to Ranchi as suggested by everybody else in 1958. However, he did go to Ranchi later as because his doctor suggested him to do so. Okay? And the second one, what kind of a person was Bepin? So this is written in the beginning of the chapter. He liked to be alone. He didn't like to make idle talk with people. He was not very social. He liked reading, etc., etc., etc. Okay? So you can add all of these things. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say he was gullible, because बहुत time तक Bepin was like, no, I have not been to Ranchi. He was sure. But when everybody around him was doing this, then he realized कि हो सकता है मैं गया ही हूँगा. And there's a word for this जो आजकल बहुत popular हुआ होगा. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's called gaslighting. It's become a popular word. I don't know if any of you have heard about it, but gaslighting is the term we use for this kind of a thing if it happens now. Okay? So here are your answers. Okay? Make sure that if you get a question like this, you have to explain कि he did not go in 1958 but he did go later. दोनों चीजें बतानी जरूरी है, ठीक है? Basically, जो Bepin, whatever happened with Bepin Babu is like an example of gaslighting. When you make someone believe that they have gone insane because either you're making them believe something that's not true, or you're making them believe that something that they know is true hasn't really happened. Okay? पूर्वी को लगता है इंटरेस्ट आ गया है आपको. हनी ड्यू उठा के भी पढ़नी चाहिए अब एग्जाम्स के बाद. बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग स्टोरीज है उसमें. लास्ट बार्गेन. ओके, अगेन a very nice poem from a very celebrated person, Rabindranath Tagore. Satyajit Ray was also Bengali, so we have two Bengali, one story, one poem back to back. Okay, it talks about the value of free spirit. So what happens in the poem? There's a man, he wants to get hired. The first person he comes across is a king, so the king says ki I have a lot of power. उस power के basis पे I'm going to hire you, and the man says no, I don't want to be hired by you because power is nothing compared to what I want. Next person कौन आता है? So first is king. King क्या represent करता है? Power. ये याद रखना है बस आपको mainly इसमें. Second person आता है rich man. Rich man क्या represent करता है? Money या wealth. और वो कहता है कि मैं अपने पैसों के बलबूते पे आपको hire करता हूँ. तो वो कहता है नहीं, पैसा कुछ नहीं है उसके सामने जो मैं ढूंढ रहा हूँ. Third is a woman represents beauty. She says मैं अपने beauty के बल पे आपको hire करूँगी. तो वो कहते हैं no, beauty means nothing to me compared to what I'm actually looking for. Lastly, he comes across a child and the child says I will hire you for nothing. Okay? The man accepts. Why? Because the one thing that the man is looking for is free will. Okay? he wants to be a free spirit and he doesn't want to be bound or restricted by anything. किंग के साथ जाता तो उसको पावर रिस्ट्रिक्ट करती, रिच मैन के साथ जाता मनी रिस्ट्रिक्ट करती, वुमन के पास जाता ब्यूटी रिस्ट्रिक्ट करती. पर बच्चे को कुछ नहीं है उसके, ना ही वो कुछ दे रहा है ना ही वो कुछ ले रहा है. सो देयर आर नो स्ट्रिंग्स अटैच्ड. ओके, सो ही फील्स unencumbered and he accepts the offer. All right, so here's your first question. Explain. He weighed his coins one by one but I turned away. This is talking about which part? This is talking about rich man and money. Okay, ठीक है. हाँ, supplementary reader भी cover करना है. That's why I'm saying we need to be a little faster. He weighed his coins one by one, but I turned away. Who weighed the coins? The rich man weighed the coins. This means that the man did not want to be hired for money because money meant nothing in comparison to what he wanted. Okay, did not want to be bound by any of these things. Yes, did not want to be restricted by any of these things. ठीक है. Second, explain. I hire you with nothing. Who said this? The child said this and the man instantly agrees. Okay, so how will you write this down? Here's how you can form these answers. The man refused to be hired for money by the rich old man because wealth did not interest him as much as free will. Second answer, the child says that he'll hire the man with nothing. While that means without money, it also means without any conditions. Okay, without any conditions, without any restrictions. Therefore, the man's free will is not compromised. Okay? ठीक है? Next, we have entered our supplementary reader. It's How the Camel Got His Hump, written by Rudyard Kipling, who is also famous for the Jungle Book. ठीक है? And it's an interesting story of how the camel got its hump, or as Enormous Desire is saying, humph. Utkarsh, I'm not reading from anything. I was checking the time. Everything is on the slides only. Everything is from the key points only. Okay? Yeah, from memory. Yes, very good, Abhinaya. Perfect. You can be free and I won't suppress you. ठीक है? Honeydew के सारे chapters cover हो चुके हैं. अब Camel Got Its Hump के key points ये रहे. ये उस ज़माने की बात है when the world was created and animals used to help man. The animals we have were horse, dog and ox. तीनों अपना अपना काम करते थे और camel कुछ नहीं करता था. And the animals used to come to the camel and ask him to help, and the camel used to say, humph. That's the sound, H-U-M-P-H. Humph or humph. Okay? And so the lazy camel got away with doing nothing, and the poor other three animals had to do extra work because of the camel. So the three other animals go to the jinn and complain to the jinn, and the jinn says, "ठीक है, let me go and take care of this camel." So when the jinn goes to the camel, he asks him why he wasn't doing anything, and the camel, who's busy looking at his reflection, simply says, "Humph." So what does the jinn do? The jinn gives him a hump, okay, and he calls it the humph only. And he says ki now you have missed 3 days of work. So what? This hump will have 3 days worth of food for you, so that you can make up for the 3 days of work that you've lost and not waste any time on eating or drinking anything. Okay? So finally everybody else started calling the hump, so that the camel's feelings were not hurt. But it is still said that because the camel still has the hump, That means वो जो 3 दिन camel ने miss किए थे, अभी भी he hasn't done the work to make up for those 3 days. Okay? ये अपने अपने विश्वास की बात है, मैं क्या बोलूँ इसमें, जिन एग्जिस्ट करता है कि नहीं. बट मेक श्योर व्हेन यू आर राइटिंग इन योर एग्जाम देन यू स्पेल इट विद अ डी. इट्स प्रोनाउंस्ड जिन बट यू हैव टू स्पेल इट विद अ डी. ओके, सो हियर्स योर फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन. हाउ डिड द कैमल गेट हिज hump? You just have to explain basically everything the jinn did, okay, in this answer. Second question, do you think the camel was right to not work? This is a speculative answer. इसमें आप अपना opinion दे सकते हो. What did the other animals do? The other animals did not do anything. First, the horse with the saddle went to the camel and said, "Ki, why don't you do any work like me?" Camel said, "Humph." Dog went with a stick in his mouth, said, "Why don't you do any work like me?" Camel said, "Humph." Then the ox went and he's like, "Why don't you help plow the fields and with the yoke?" And the camel said, "Humph." So that's what the 3 animals got fed up. They went and complained to man. Man said, "Okay, the camel is not doing anything, that's fine. You do the camel's share of the work." So then the 3 animals got angry that why should we do his share of the work? So they go to the jinn and complain to the jinn. Okay? Alright, do you think the camel was right not to work? You have to justify why. Okay? So when you're answering the question, for example, answer 1, answer 2 here says, while it is understandable that everybody doesn't want to work all the time, it was unfair of the camel to not work, while the other animals had to work doubly hard to make up for his laziness. This is the stance that you're taking, that we have taken in this answer, but you can take another stance. If you want to justify ki camel not working is justified, then you have to give a very good argument as to why it is justified. Utkarsh, I already answered your question, still you keep sending it in the chat. And pehle question ka answer, the camel got his hump because he kept saying humph and refused to do any work. He made the lives of the other animals difficult. So the jinn got him a hump. Okay? What happens with Bepin later? We understand what happens with Bepin. He realizes that he is not mentally ill, that it was all a prank, and he tells the doctor to give him medication for his injured hip. Okay? That's all that happens. ठीक है? Yes, camel came and decided to live in the middle of the desert because he did not want to do any work. How many of you are camels over here who don't want to do anything at home? We have only 3 more left, so let's do them quickly, because not a lot of time left. 10 minutes maybe we have to wrap up. So children at work. This is about the experiences of a child who runs away from home, from his village, and finds himself in Chennai. Is anybody here from Chennai? I am from Chennai. I grew up in Chennai. Okay. So here, Velu is the name of the boy who runs away from home, finds himself in Chennai, and kyunki he's come from a village, he finds it very overwhelming. He's like, what is this city? There are so many people. I've never seen so many people in my life. And he gets very overwhelmed by everything and doesn't know what to do. That's when in the railway station a girl comes who's wearing a banyan, and he keeps wondering, why is this girl wearing a banyan? That's so weird. The girl comes to him, she's holding this big sack and is picking up plastic and paper from all over the station. She guesses that he has run away from home and says that, okay, you must be hungry, so come, I'll help you find some food. So she starts going away into the crowd, and Velu doesn't realize what he should do. He's all alone in this new city. He's very scared, so he decides to follow the girl. He follows the girl, and she takes him across the road, and there also Velu gets very scared looking at all the cars and everything. And then once they are able to cross the road, they reach a wedding hall where a wedding is taking place, a Kalyan Mandapam. And over there, Velu for a second thinks that, okay, maybe he'll get food from the wedding, but the girl actually takes him to the garbage bin, which is so unfortunate when you think about it, that there are children much younger than all of you are who are having to live like this in the world. So they basically scavenge some food from the garbage bin, end up finding a squishy banana and a vada. And even though Velu doesn't want to eat it, he's so hungry he has to eat it. He eats it, and then he realizes that he doesn't know the name of the girl, so he asks her what her name is. She tells him her name is Jaya, and he then realizes that Jaya is a rag picker. Jaya takes him to her makeshift house and tells him about the kind of work that rag pickers do. And Velu is very confused. He's wondering ki who's going to buy trash. We are basically collecting things that people throw away and selling them. Who is buying this? Then Jaya explains that there is a value for everything. And so she convinces Velu to also become a rag picker. Velu doesn't want to become a rag picker at all. He remembers how in his village he used to work in a farm, he used to graze cows. He wants to do something similar, but there are no farms in the city. So he has no choice but to become a rag picker, and he becomes a rag picker. Correct? And the reason why Velu runs away from home is because his father kept beating him up and taking away all the money that he earned to spend on alcohol or drink. Okay? All right. Question 1. What did Velu feel when he went to the wedding hall with Jaya? Sampath, Hari, you have answered the question before I showed the question only. See, when we read all these stories, there are real life incidents also that you read about. For example, the tsunami chapter. And while this story might be a fictional story, there are many children who live on the street. Makes you realize how lucky and privileged we might be, and how we don't realize how lucky we actually are to have, a comfortable house, parents who take care of us. Should always be very grateful for all the blessings that we do have, correct? Because Velu did not want to eat out of a garbage can. He was not used to this. But he was very, very hungry, so he had no choice. He thought he would get food from the wedding hall, but instead he had to go dig into a garbage can which smelled so bad. Kind of rags Jaya picks? She picks plastic, paper and glass. Okay, and what about question number 2? Why do you think Jaya helped Velu? So here again, you have to speculate. What that means is, there is no clear answer given in the chapter. Why did Jaya help Velu? We don't know. But we can speculate. That means we can guess कि उसने क्यों help किया होगा. And because she is a rag picker herself, she's had a tough life. She was not born to parents who take care of her. Maybe perhaps she lost her parents. We don't know what her story is. Maybe she's an orphan. But whatever it might be, the reason she helped Velu is because she understood his situation. She was empathetic towards him because maybe she also ran away from her home, or maybe she also had nobody to take care of her. Okay? She can feel Velu's pain. Very good, Smriti. She could relate to him. She could feel his pain. She could understand what he must be going through. Okay? So here are your answers. So Velu initially thought they would get food inside, but was shocked that they would be eating from the garbage bins outside. Okay? And second one, this is again speculation, but it could be that she saw herself in him. Maybe she'd also arrived like that. Maybe she felt sorry for him, or maybe she wanted to find someone to help her. Okay? Alright, next. We don't have a lot of time. Again, Selfish Giant, a very, very beautiful story written by Oscar Wilde. Here is the summary or the key points. Why did Jaya and other children sold all their junk too? हर area में कोई ना कोई होता है ना who's in charge of that area. So maybe जिस area से Jaya आती थी, the in charge of that area was Jaggu, and they had to sell all of whatever they pick up to him only. Correct? आज मेंटी नहीं है. कितनी बारी मैंने आपको बता दिया, बाप रे. टुडे होगा मेंटी बाद में, आज नहीं हो रहा है. Okay, clear? So what happens here? There's a giant. He has a beautiful garden, but he's away from it because he's gone to visit a Cornish ogre. Meanwhile, all the children in the neighborhood play in that beautiful garden. इसमें क्या interesting चीज़ हुई है? Interesting चीज़ is that you can see spring, snow, frost, hail. इन सब के नाम कैपिटल लेटर से क्यों शुरू हो रहे हैं? Why are they starting with a capital letter? Prosecuted means punished. Trespassers means जो किसी और की private property में घुस जाते हैं without permission. Because they are personified and that is their proper noun. So we are not talking about snow as in snowfall. We are talking about snow as if it's a person snow that's coming. We're talking about frost as if it's frost, the person who's coming. And spring, spring the person who's coming. Correct? So क्या होता है जब children होते हैं गार्डन में तब spring आ जाती है, पर जब बच्चे नहीं होते गार्डन में तो स्नो और फ्रॉस्ट आ जाता है, जो कि जायंट को बिल्कुल भी अच्छा नहीं लगता है. एंड इवेंचुअली द जायंट रियलाइजेस दैट it's important not to be selfish, to share what you have with others. That's how you get joy in your life. And who can tell me who the child is supposed to be? Not this children. Where is that child? Next. Who this small boy is supposed to be? Were you able to understand after reading the chapter who the small boy was actually supposed to be? Very good. Enormous desire, Smriti, Sampat. Yes, it was actually supposed to be Jesus Christ. It's not explicitly mentioned, but the nails on the palms and the feet indicate, let us know that it was Jesus Christ. That's why pehli baar when the small boy came, changed the giant, made the giant into a better person. Giant को person नहीं बोल सकते. Made the giant better. Okay, gave the giant a more loving heart. And then find the next time, after a long time, when the small boy comes again, small boy has come to take the giant to paradise because it's time for the giant to die. Okay, ठीक है? All right, great, very beautiful story. You can read the key points if you have any confusions. Here are your questions. Was a giant wrong to be selfish? Was he wrong? You can say yes, he was wrong. Because being selfish in general is not a very good trait to have, right? Oh, very good, Sanvi. I'm very happy for you. Yes, you also have to explain why. Proud on नहीं होते, proud of होते हैं. Proud of, on नहीं. Utkarsh, don't panic if you don't know the word, meaning of the word. Just try to guess what the meaning is by reading everything. Question पढ़ोगे तो समझ में आ जाएगा क्या पूछने की कोशिश कर रहा है. Reading passage में आएगा तो भी समझ में आ जाएगा. Don't panic if you don't know the meaning of a word. It's fine. Alright, and how did the giant react to seeing the child struggling to climb the tree? He went and helped the child, and that's what caused a change in the giant. So the child had actually come to change the giant, to help him realize why he was wrong. Okay? So here are your answers. Yes, the giant was wrong to be selfish. What we have should be shared with others, and especially when the children were having innocent and harmless fun there, it was wrong on the part of the giant to ban them from there. Okay? Kalyani, very good, but his heart melted when he saw the child. Okay? Saw the child. And it is yes in answer 1 because the giant, if the giant was not wrong, then nothing would have happened. Why did the spring go away from the garden? The spring went away from the garden because it felt that the giant was wrong, right? There was no happiness, there was no joy in the garden. All the children were not there. That's why snow and frost came. So here, snow and frost are symbolizing what? Loneliness. Okay? When you're alone all by yourself, when you don't share, when you don't have a loving heart, when you're not warm towards others, you are cold-hearted. You are lonely, cold-hearted. That's what snow and frost is symbolizing in the story. And spring is symbolizing joy. So when you share, you're spreading joy. That's why spring comes. And Jesus Christ himself in the form of small boy came to teach this to the giant. Okay? And the giant himself became very happy after he allowed all the children to come there. He used to play with the children himself. He used to sit and watch the children. His life became so much better. Correct? The little child went away because that little child was not actually a child. That little child was actually Jesus Christ. And that little child, Jesus Christ in the form of that little child, had come just to teach the giant a lesson and just to make the giant understand that by being warm and loving and letting the children play in his garden, he himself would become happier and the spring will be back. Okay, that's why the child went away, because the purpose for which the small boy, that is Jesus Christ, had come had been fulfilled. So as soon as the purpose was fulfilled, he went back, and then he came again when it was time for the giant to pass away, to take the giant to paradise. Okay, all right. Answer 2 is, the giant's heart melted and he felt bad for having been selfish all that time. He immediately wanted to help the child and wanted the other children to come back and play in his garden. Okay? Now we have 2 more to go na. Treasure Within and Princess September. Okay, jaldi karenge. Treasure Within is easy to understand. It's an interview with one of India's greatest architects who has planned most of the fantastic buildings that you see all around India. His name is Hafiz Contractor. It's an interview in which he explains how he was not good at school. He was very naughty. All he wanted to do was play around. He never scored good marks. He cheated in his exam. Yet, after all that he went through, he became a successful architect because he followed his calling. He understood what he was genuinely good at, and all that time that he spent in school solving real problems instead of simply just focusing on academics made him build that instinct that is required for an architect. Okay, easy to understand. You can go through these key points. Okay, all right. You should also search for some of the buildings that he has made. How many of you are from Calcutta over here? Anybody from Calcutta in the chat? Okay, Jahan, not Kalyani. Sita, you're from Calcutta? Okay, Shubham. What is the tallest building have you seen? The 42, some 60 से ज़्यादा उसमें floors हैं. It's very tall building you've seen. दूर से नजर आती है, लंबी सी building है, बहुत ही लंबी, the tallest building. That was also made by Hafiz Contractor. Okay? Not Burj Khalifa, I'm talking about Calcutta में. All right. Here's your first question. What kind of person was Hafiz in school? And the second question is, what was the turning point in Hafiz's life? Okay, I don't have time to wait for your answers, so I will show you the answers. So, he was a person who was very playful, preferred outdoors. He was not serious about studies and did not like mathematics. Main points ye hai. Second K, turning point came when he began learning French. He went to his cousin's husband's office to study French from his cousin. The husband was an architect. That's when he saw someone making a window and he said that this window will not work, it won't open. And that person argued with him, and finally Hafiz Contractor won, saying ki he was right, ki the window wouldn't open. That's when the cousin's husband discovered his talent and asked him to pursue architecture. Okay? So the core teaching in this lesson is, even if you're not good at academics or like the basic, you know, what everybody expects you to be good at in school, that doesn't mean you can't be successful in life. Okay? All right? Next we have Princess September. This is our last chapter that we are going to be covering today, and it's again a deep story. You need to understand the meaning behind the story to be able to understand the chapter. Here are your key points given, okay? And you can read these key points. No, French is not required for architecture. So basically, the reason why he went to an architect's office is because the architect's wife, his cousin, was teaching him French. So that's how he ended up going to an architect's office, and that's where the architect recognized his talent and pushed him to pursue architecture. Okay? That's why learning French was a turning point. Okay? So here, what do we have? The king and queen of Siam, which is now in Thailand. They had many daughters, and because itni sari daughters ho gayi thi, they were like, what names do we keep for them? So let's just call them the different months. The last daughter was Princess September. It's a story about how they all get parrots on their birthday, but Princess September's parrot ends up dying. And so she gets very sad. Suddenly this bird comes. The bird comes and sings a very beautiful song for her, and she becomes very happy. But then later she gets insecure and puts the bird in a cage, and after going into the cage, the bird gets absolutely depressed and is on the verge of dying. That's when Princess September lets him out, and when he's able to be free, to be able to fly again, he always comes back to her. So the meaning of this story is that we should let the people that we truly love, we should let them live their own lives. Let them do what makes them happy. We should not tie them down just because we can't be without them. Okay? Alright? Her mother, what about parrot? The parrot died. Did you understand the core teaching of this lesson? It's that we should not, if we truly love someone, we will let them be. We will let them do what they want. Okay? And because the bird also loved her, he always came back for her. It's not like because he had freedom, he never came back to her. Alright, here are your questions. Again, okay, I just told you what the core point is, so you will be able to answer that. Second question, would you have set a bird like that free? Now this is entirely up to you, what you want to answer. Would you have set a bird like that free? Did Princess September's mother love her? Is that what you're asking, Shubham? Shubham, whatever language you're comfortable in, you can ask me in that, because I'm not able to understand your question because of the mistake you're making. Why the other sisters are jealous? The other sisters are jealous because this bird is so much better than the parrots that they have. The only thing that the parrots could say was repeat whatever they were taught. God save the king. Correct? And the other bird was able to sing beautiful songs and sang a different song every time. So that's why they were jealous of the bird. Okay? Yes, pretty Polly. What was special about the king? The fact that on his birthday, instead of receiving gifts, he liked to give gifts to others. That was special about the king. Alright? So here are your answers for these two questions. And obviously, keeping a bird caged is never a good thing. Birds are meant to fly. That's why they have wings. It's their right to fly. So obviously, a bird should be allowed to be free and not caged. क्या doubt है जल्दी पूछो. And the core point, I've explained it to you. Not restrict or cage people and things we love. We should always set free what we love. That is a true sign of love, that you're letting them stay free and pursue their own happiness. Okay? No, Jahan, the actual core point is that we should not cage or restrict the people that we love. If we truly love them, we would let them pursue their own happiness and trust them. Okay? Trust that they will come back to us. What is your doubt? Quickly ask. We've reached the end of the session. My name is Asmita, if that was your doubt. Samriddhi, Treasure Within is just an interview with Hafiz Contractor, who's a very, very famous architect. And it's about his childhood and how he was not the topper of his class. In fact, he was not good in studies at all. He was just mostly playing sports. He was being naughty. He was not paying attention. And exam time, he just used to copy and get marks. and he's talking about how you don't necessarily have to be very good in academics. You don't have to just always be the topper and get 100 marks in every subject to be successful in life. To be truly successful in life, you should first of all be interested in what you're doing. Secondly, you should have a knack for it, and you should do it earnestly, and like your success doesn't hinge on marks, and that is a very important thing that you should all remember, because as you're going to get older, the pressure is going to keep increasing. That agar mere 90 plus nahi aaye, 95 plus nahi aaye, तो God knows what is going to happen. And unfortunately, a lot of children these days are not able to take that pressure, which is a very dangerous situation. So don't ever, please put yourself in that situation. Understand that you will put in your hard work, you will try your best to do the best that you can, but even then, if you're not able to score the highest marks in your class, as long as you tried your best, you are doing your best. It's fine, okay? It's not the end of the world. The world has a lot more in store for you. ठीक है? ये doubt थोड़ी होता है where am I from a lot of places. You can find videos about that. We've done many sessions like that. ठीक है? Now we really need to end the session. 7 बजे खत्म होना है, 7:22 हो गया है. Okay? So if you have any other doubts, why did the princess Jahan, because she became insecure, because 8 of her other sisters were brainwashing her. When a lot of people tell us the same thing, we start believing it, right? Even if it's wrong. So she got brainwashed by her other sisters, and she became insecure, and because the bird took a little longer to come back to her, she decided she doesn't want to let him go at all. But she learned her lesson, which is a good thing. Okay, we should always learn our lessons. Okay. Any other doubt? Quickly. Very good, Anoop. I'm very happy that your exam went well. Perception is how you perceive things. Okay, how you understand things. So my perception can be different from your perception. So my understanding of something can be different from your understanding of something. Compromise means when you give up on something. Okay, so compromised it can have two meanings. If you give me the sentence in which you're confused, I will explain it to you better. But just compromise means when you have to give up on something for the sake of something else. Okay? And when something is compromised, that means it was not supposed to be revealed, or it was not supposed to be known by somebody, but somebody else revealed it or told somebody else about it. In that case, it's compromised. Smriti, if today is indeed really your birthday, then happy birthday. If you're just saying it because you want some attention, then also happy birthday. It's okay. Why did the princess release the bird after caging it? Because she realized that the bird was dying. The bird was not happy. By caging the bird, she stole the happiness away from the bird. So one thing that she loved from the bottom of her heart, if she was not able to keep that only happy, then what's the point? The moral of the story, Princess September, is that we should not restrict. This is the moral. We should not restrict or cage people or things that we love. We should let them do what they want and be happy. Okay? Caning means, so पहले टाइम में स्कूल में, अब तो अलाउड नहीं है स्कूल में मारना, पर पहले टाइम में केन लेके पिटाई करते थे. दैट इज केनिंग. केन नहीं होती, ऐसी डंडी सी होती है बड़ी सी. Bird did not die. She caged the bird because she got influenced by her sisters. Oh, Smriti, sorry. Happy birthday to you. ठीक है? Understood? Oriental is anything related to the eastern side of the world. Oriental language is any kind of language that is spoken in the east. Okay? ग्रामर की वीडियोस आ चुकी है, आप प्लीज सर्च करके देख लो. ठीक है? टेंसेस, ग्रामर सब कुछ कवर हो चुका है. प्लीज सर्च करके देख लो, आपको आराम से मिल जाएगा. The bird did not die, Anisha. The bird was fine. It almost died, but it did not really die. The parrot died. क्यों मरा, we don't know. The second bird that came, that one did not die. Okay. Restrict means not allowing somebody to do something. Not allowing them to do something. इन्फ्लुएंस मीन्स जब आप किसी को कुछ ऐसा बोलते हो जिसकी वजह से वो आपकी बात मान ले, तो मतलब वो आपसे इन्फ्लुएंस हो गए. मैं जो बोल रही हूँ अगर आप वही कर रहे हो, मतलब आप मेरे से इन्फ्लुएंस्ड हो. ओके, ठीक है. इफ यू स्टिल हैव डाउट्स, प्लीज गो बैक, रीड द की पॉइंट्स, ऑल द important things are covered. Okay. All right, thank you so much. Take very good care of yourselves. Remember to like the video if it's helping you. Subscribe to the channel. Psyche is your mind. ठीक है, जो आप जहन बोलते हैं जिसको, जैसे आप सोचते हो, everything that you think, that's how you think, what your opinions are, all of that is your psyche. Okay. All right. Bye bye. All the very best.